don't understand what I call emotional accounting. We put that off. We don't know what it's costing us. I tell people to invest in your breakthroughs. You can't have a breakthrough until there's conflict. So if you're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding your breakthrough.
That there's a lack of self-awareness, right? Or especially, from the top, right? In leadership, there's a lot of times it's just like their way or the highway, or
this guy's cussing at me in front of this kid. That's not what I want. My brain comes back on in that moment, Mark. And I stopped. I went, sir, you're right. I am so sorry. That was rude of me and disrespectful. I am so sorry. Please accept my apology. I did not mean to do that. Please. He got even madder. Now, you know why he got madder? Is because now he can't focus on my behavior yelling. I've owned mine. Now he has to deal with his behavior.
Are you ready to feel like it's Friday every day? I'm Mark Labriola II, and this is the Friday Habit. We interview experts to learn how to bring excitement, possibility, and sweet, sweet relief into every single day, no matter what day it is. If you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, or agency leader, get ready to grow your business, lead with purpose, and build a life you love. Welcome to the Friday Habit. All right. Welcome to another Friday Habit. We're back again with another awesome episode, and today we have Greg Stevens on, and he's an executive coach, a professional mediator, and master trainer who spent more than 25 years helping people repair damaged relationships. His book, Build New Bridges, The Art of Restoring Impossible Relationships, offers practical tools for resolving conflicts, embracing accountability and ownership, and shifting mindsets. Greg has spoken to over 100,000 people worldwide, coaching and mentoring CEOs and their teams on how to have the hard conversations most of us avoid. So you're going to want to tune into this one. He's got a wealth of Fortune 500 consulting experience and a passion for communication across every type of relationship, whether that's professional, personal, or community. So he's going to bring a deeply tested approach to restoring connection. So Greg, hey, thanks so much for being with us in the Friday Habit.
Mark, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And I do have to say before we begin, I love your background. It is one of the best backgrounds I've seen. It's really nice.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's just little bits of my life and history. So
I love it. It's nice.
That's all that. Yeah. So with you being a relationship coach and expert, I mean, you probably don't ever have disagreements with your wife or family members.
No, that's one thing I will say. I practice what I teach, and I've had a lot of practice. So I have. That's one of the things as I coach from a place of every day. I mean, I still, even though I know what I'm doing around it, I still blow it from time to time. You can ask my wife. Yeah. Give you one example the other day. She knows a couple things. She says, when I get upset, she knows I'm typically either hungry or hot. And she said, which is it? Or is it both? And sometimes I'll say it's both. Let's get you fed and cool you down. And nice. But she's good at calling me on it. And because when you're in the middle of it and you're emotional, your brain shuts down. Right. Sometimes even as good as we are, we don't see it.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of like your lizard brain takes over and you just go into like defense mode.
Yeah, and until someone points it out. The other day I was hot in my garage trying to clean it out. It just gotten too much. And my wife came out and asked me something, and I just cut her off like that. She goes, wow, that was nasty, like that. And made me even madder, of course.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I didn't say anything. She went back upstairs. And I thought, boy, she's right. I didn't realize. And I thought, I'm giving myself an out because I'm hot right now. I'm mad.
Yeah,
it's like,
I'm irritated.
Yeah, so I went up and just said, thanks for calling me out on it. And she just stopped and she looked at me. She goes, well, that's just not like you. I said, well, yeah, and thank you. And she said, well, I didn't mean to. I said, no, really, thank you. I really appreciate, because that's not my goal, is She's the person I love most on the planet. I want to
Right.
treat her the best.
How long have you been
And
married?
I've been married to Emily 5 years.
Okay,
So
nice,
yeah.
awesome.
And,
And then
we have a great relationship.
that's great. Yeah. What first inspired you to kind of specialize in conflict resolution and relationship coaching?
Well, Mark, thanks for the question. I didn't plan on it. It kind of found me. I was so poor, I'd say, when I started at dealing with issues. I would typically not speak my truth. I would sugarcoat my message. I wanted to be the nice guy. And then I'd hold on to things so long I'd tend to explode. And then I'd go back to doing what I did before. I was doing work in man-woman relationship, and then there was a class. It was called Pat the Dialogue. So I went to Dallas, Texas, and took it. The author, the people who developed that, they later wrote a book called Crucial Conversations: Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. It became a New York Times best-selling book. They also followed up with Crucial Accountability and Crucial Influence. Well, I asked them if I could sell their material and actually teach it. They allowed me to come in as an associate first and later a master trainer. And I started using it because it made such a difference for me. That's just it. When I took the class, I really didn't have a plan to train it or anything. I just knew I needed to get better. But I saw everything starting to change around me, and I thought, I want to be a part of this. They allowed me to come on, and I worked with them for 24 years. I was always a 1099, hired gun.
Yeah.
But I worked with them for 24 years until I wrote my book. And in January, I went out, and I'm actually now teaching the application of what they teach. One of the things I found is when people sat through class, it's the best training I've found out there as far as teaching people how to have these conversations. And people have aha moments and breakthrough thinking. But I've also found that breakthroughs aren't permanent unless you actually begin to apply it. Thinking that, oh, this is how you do it, and doing it are two different things. So I've created a program where we actually take it a step further, and we actually teach people in a 20-week, 6-month program. We actually apply it on our relationships. Relationships you want to clean up, relationships you want to improve, relationships you might want to complete, not deal with anymore. But how do I do that at my best? And that's how I kind of got into it. It just came to me, and I didn't realize until after teaching it for years and doing those things that I got pretty good at it. And I got good at not just teaching it, but doing it myself. And one of the things that I did in the kind of led for me to write the book was when I first started, I wanted to be the type of leader that practiced what they taught. So I made a list of all my incomplete relationships. And
when you say incomplete relationships, what do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah. Think of it, you're walking down a hallway, you're going to your office, which is on the other side of the building, and there's a hallway here, and there's a person I do not want to pass, so I can take the alternate route. If I decided I wanted to take the alternate route because I didn't want to engage with that person, that was a relationship I needed to clean up. So I had 36 people on the list. It took me 2.5 years.
Wow.
And people say, were you best friends with them now? I said, no, it's about a completion, getting things cleaned up. Some of them I became friends with again. Others, we went our separate ways. But there was a completion with them. One person I had to go back to 7 different times before I got there. So there's no
Was that like your brother or something like that?
No, it was each time I was so emotional, I got plugged in. I was the problem. And people say, when I tell people that, they go, why was that person so difficult? I go, why do you think that they were the one who was difficult? When you really look at it, it was me who couldn't manage my emotions around it.
Yeah.
And so when I was able to, it changed.
Yeah. So what does that look like as far as like managing your emotions around it? Like look like what is that? How do you get to a point to where you can manage your emotions? Because I do feel like there's a lot of times where even myself, right, when I have to deal a difficult situation, or if I have to confront somebody, or I get choked up, or I start to kind of if I feel like I'm getting over emotional, I'm like, why can't I just deliver this?
Well, because your brain shuts down. And it's just the fight or flight thing happens, but it's internally. We don't see it hits us. And for me, I get hot. Okay, that adrenaline rush clicks in. Hair stands up on the back of my neck. Some people, their chest seizes because of all of those things.
Tight chest, yeah.
Yeah, it's an internal thing. Maybe some people, their mouth get dry or hands get sweaty. When that happens, that should be a sign that, oh my gosh, this is a major point right here. I need to get at my best. And if you go on from where you are right there, you're going to be at your worst because your brain's not on. And what turns the brain back on are when you pose questions to yourself. So if I can, I've even told people to do this. Let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. Don't you get mad at them?
I'm actually a pretty chill person, so I let it go. But my wife will reach over and honk my horn for me.
Yeah, exactly. So hers clicks in. For you, it doesn't in that situation. You, Mark, I bet there's different situations for you.
Yeah.
It clicks in where it doesn't for her. That's what's amazing because we're all different. But when I feel whatever that is, whatever my internal feature is, if I can ask a question and go, what else could be going on? What might I not be seeing? Maybe there was something that they were swerving from. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe I was in their blind spot. Maybe, and ask yourself several questions, you can begin to calm yourself because you're actually flipping the switch to turn your brain back on. You're starting to go back from your amygdala to your big brain. Your big brain answers questions. But that's just it. We have to think to answer the question. The other thing it's important, take a deep breath. Break that physicality through your nose. Take a deep breath and then ask a question. And questions like, what is it I want right now? In that moment, when you're in a tough situation, we typically know, what is it I really want? That's the big thing, because right now I may want to hurt them really bad. That's not what we really want. What we really want is to have a good outcome. How do I do that? Well, what just happened? What am I responsible for? That makes you take a look at yourself, because we don't see our behavior in a conversation. We see the other person's.
Right.
We only see our intention. And if my intention's pure and they're being difficult, then I'm going to get even more emotional. But if I say, wow, what's my role in all this? Okay, maybe I just might have raised my voice, or maybe I'm rolling my eyes at them, I'm pointing my finger at them. Maybe there's something I'm doing that's helping to be a problem in this. And so there's a series of questions you can begin to ask yourself to get back to your best behavior.
And so would you say, like you said, you approached someone 7 times. It's like, did you get to a situation you're like, you know what, I'm obviously not in the right headspace, so I'm going to have to leave and come back?
Oh, absolutely. People ask me that all the time. If you're not in the right space, you're just going to cause more damage. And there's been times when, you know what, this isn't going the way I wanted it to, and I'm too emotional right now. Can we come back in 24 hours and have the conversation? I typically ask people, don't go more than 24 hours because you're already in the conversation. Let's go get it handled. But step away. And one of the other things I ask people to do, so say you and I, Mark, are in conflict. I might say, this isn't going the way I want it to, Mark, and I want to solve this, and I want to make sure we work well together, or that we don't have any of this lasting. Tomorrow, can we come back and talk about it? And what I'd ask you to do, come up with 3 things you think would work for us to build our relationship and make sure we solve this problem. And I'll bring 3 of mine as well. The reason you want to do that is because when you get away and your brain turns back on, you don't want to obsess over the problem. You want to look at the solution. And if I'm looking at it with a clear head, I have a better ability to do it. And I don't obsess about everything you did wrong, I think you did wrong, because that's going to be a terrible way to walk into that conversation the next day.
Yeah. You've interviewed so many people. and you've spoken with so many people and CEOs across, so many different industries. What's a common communication challenge that you've noticed, whether it's in the boardroom or the family room?
Well, there's a couple, because when you start coaching, one of the biggest things is, I'm pretty good at this. And the reality is everyone's got a level of competency, but they don't have a complete toolbox. And that's just it. Everyone's got some level, but I find the biggest thing is you've got to work on yourself. Everyone tends to look at most people look at the other person as the problem. I don't look at, when I go into a situation, I'm looking at, where am I the problem? I've got to take responsibility. I've got a quote that I live my life by. Everything in my life I create, promote, or allow. And so when I take that kind of responsibility, then I say, okay, what did I do? What can I handle? Now, I'm also not letting the other person off the hook when I do this. Let's say there's bad behavior. I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm just getting myself prepared so I can have the conversation to the best of my ability. Because otherwise I'm allowing that person to push my buttons and I'm no good to anyone because I've given them all the power. They're meant to have their power. I'm meant to have mine. So that means I can't allow my buttons to be pushed. When I'm self-mastery, I'm able to do that to effectively go in. And what your reaction is, I know how to actually try to create psychological safety in that moment if I'm aware of my own.
Right.
But if I can't do my own, if I can't manage myself, I can't help the other person.
How do you think someone gets to a place where they can manage themselves? Because a lot of times I feel that there's a lack of self-awareness, right? Or especially from the top, right? In leadership, there's a lot of times it's just like their way of the highway, or they're just very. But say someone starts this journey, they listen to this podcast and they're like, oh, you know what? I really want to focus on myself. Like, what are those steps that someone can take to start to grow and gain that self-awareness and start to really develop those skills?
Yeah, I say put it into practice. This is one of the things I do in my master team classes. I set up games every week for the group. And one of the games might be, when you have a conversation about what respect looks like to you and another person. And so they go out and have respect conversations with people around them. As they do that, they start to see things they've never done. When you put yourself as a subject in your own laboratory, you start to see what's going on, and that self-awareness comes naturally by the application of a game. One game I did for a year, and I'll never do that again. I thought, I'm going to speak up every time someone steps in front of me in line. I don't really care if someone steps in front of me in line. I figure, okay, I'm going to get there. But traveling, you know how many people step in front of you in line? And I was on the road all the time. I was so tired at the end of a year. I thought, I'll do something for 2 weeks or a month, but I'm never doing it another year. But by the end of that year, I knew how to talk to people who stepped in front of me in line really quickly.
So what is it? I step in front of you, and then what do you say to me?
Well, there's different things for different circumstances. That's just it. I'll look and size up, and I'll do my best to say,
is this a biker and Hell's Angel, or is it a sweet soccer mom?
Exactly. Biker's Hell Angel, you don't say anything. Sweet soccer mom. The other thing is you have graciousness. You get to see how people, when you do that, you get to see how other people aren't paying attention, how they don't. And you get to a deeper level of self-awareness by watching others. But I'll give you one example, Mark, on the and this happened, this is, I can't remember how many years ago, but I've been working all day and get up really early, worked out, taught a class in New York, coming back to Austin. And I got in, there were delays. I got in about 2 in the morning. And I'm trying to get to my car, and there's a long line, and I almost get to the bus, and they go, we're full, next bus. I was like, But then I look back, and it's already a long line. And I was like, surely they're not all waiting for the same bus. So the second bus came up with a different thing. I stepped back, not one bus. I'm like, we're all vying for the same bus. So someone walks around and kind of goes down a little further down the curb, and another person follows them. And all of a sudden, the bus comes up and pulls up in front of them. They start to get on. I go, hey, don't know if you saw it, but there's a line back here. And the second guy didn't know I was going to call him on. He went, oh, he walked. The other guy goes, is the friend, he goes, like that. And once you get, I've been teaching conflict resolution, all that, and I yell, I guess the rest of us just don't matter, do we? And everyone heard it. And I got on the bus, and he came at me. He started cursing at me. He said, you blankety blank. He goes, you called me out in front of anyone. I go, you're going to come at me? The other guy turned around. Don't you dare. And then we almost got into it. I want you to get... Here, I'm a teacher in this. What am I doing?
People that are coming to your class tomorrow are sitting on that bus with you.
Exactly. But all of a sudden, I see these little Mickey Mouse ears beside me, and it shocks me, and I realize this guy's cussing at me in front of this kid. That's not what I want. My brain comes back on in that moment, Mark, and I stopped. I went, sir, you're right. I am so sorry. That was rude of me and disrespectful. I am so sorry. Please accept my apology. I did not mean to do that. Please. He got even madder. Now, you know why he got madder? Is because now he can't focus on my behavior yelling. I've owned mine. Now he has to deal with his behavior. And everyone's watching, and he sat down, and everyone's looking. It's tense on the bus. And he gets up, he grabs his stuff, he goes, you guilted me off. And the whole bus goes, get off the bus. And I said, no. One guy said, no, we were all thinking it. You said it. Now, was I successful? No, I failed miserably because my goal in calling people out when they step in front of me in line was not to shame them. It was to practice my skills to do it effectively. That's not what I wanted. And I sat there and went, I am so sorry. And we had a great conversation on the bus. I said, that's not what I wanted. But I also found you learn your lesson or you don't. 2 weeks later, I was in the Dallas airport, and we had 3 gate changes. And what I learned was, I went to bed that night, and I thought, I felt terrible about it. I thought, okay, learn from today. Learn from it. That's all you need to do. Just learn from it. What did I learn? So 2 weeks later, we had 3 gate changes, and I'm standing at the gate to try to get on the plane, and this guy, he's probably about 6'7", 250, just huge, muscle ripped, about 5 people in front of me, stands up and just steps in front. And I said, please, someone else speak up. Someone else speak up, because I'm in my, no one's doing it. So I asked the lady next to me, can you watch my bags? And I went up to him and said, excuse me, sir. And he looks down. I go, I'm not the line police or anything. And I said, I really don't care if you stay here or not, but I want you to know you stepped in front of a bunch of people, and it's affected the behavior. I can see by people watching. I just thought you might want to know, and I want you to know I completely respect whatever decision you make. Turn around, walk back, and I'm sweating by this time. And he just keeps looking forward, and then I see him go. He starts looking, and then about 3 minutes later, he turns around and goes to the back of the line. So we get on the plane. I'm sitting. I know he's going to pass me when we get on the plane, and he goes by, and when he looks at me, I don't know what he's going to do, and he goes, thank you. Thank you. He pointed at me and said, thank you. Now, what was the difference between the two of those? One, I shamed someone. The other one, I was respectful, and I did it in privacy. And I learned I don't shout out things that could shame people. I pull them aside. I caringly talk to them and let them make a decision about what they're doing.
That's really good. That's powerful. To me, too, I think that could work in a marriage relationship, too, or even with your kids, when they're misbehaving or something like that. Pulling them aside, getting to their level, and like talking to them, opposed to just yelling at them in front of everybody or whatnot. And then same thing, with your wife, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, there's a great book called Parenting with Love and Logic, and
yeah.
I took that class, and to me, it's a game changer for some parents because there's certain things you do, but to me, it's one of the most respectful ways you can raise kids.
Yeah, we're big fans of Love and Logic. My wife and I went through that when our kids were young, and used those principles, throughout the kids growing up, and very effective, and they started to learn behaviors. Like one of the principles, right, is like allowing your kids to make mistakes, right? So it's like if you're going somewhere and you are always telling them, remember your jacket, and they like, no, I don't want a jacket, and then you get somewhere and they're freezing cold and you take your jacket off and you give it to them and all those other kind of things, they're never learning that lesson. They're like, oh, well, mom and dad will just solve my problem when I have it. But then if you don't say, remember your jacket, and they say, I don't need a jacket, and then they go, and then they're freezing, and then it's like, oh, I'm so sorry you forgot your jacket, and you're so cold right now. Hopefully next time you remember to bring it. It's like this like light bulb goes off in their heads, and then you're not fighting with them to remember their jacket. Just like make sure you grab a jacket, and they're not like fighting with you. You're like, okay, I'll grab my jacket.
Yeah, well, you're developing them.
Yeah.
You're developing them, and it's the most gracious, and that one of the things, you give them empathy in that moment. Yeah, I understand, but like you said, you want them making those mistakes at that age rather than when they're 25.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I love that that concept. You took that class because to me it should have been a management 101 class.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. We always said the thing too where there's like it's like whenever my daughter would be throwing a fit or something like that, we would say, girls who throw fits don't get ice cream sundaes, and it's like, well, do you want an ice cream sundae? Well, it's like, yeah. Well, then it's like, well, then don't throw a fit. And if you throw a fit, then you're not getting ice cream sundae, but you get to decide what you want.
Right. You get it right now. Here's the moment.
Yeah.
Cause and effect. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that.
So highly recommend that, Love and Logic. You said, what was the particular book that you you said you went through like there was like another, I think my wife and I found it through like some other type of thing. I don't remember what it was, but it was great. It was really good.
I remember school districts used to the government actually put it on because they found kids who were trained in that actually were more productive in life and things like that. And government grants, the one I took was through a school district when I was living in Fort Worth, and I think it was 6 weeks, and it was interesting going in and watching the difference just a short time of how the kids show up, because I heard about it through a friend of mine. He and his wife had twin boys, and then a year later they had a girl, and it was really hurting their marriage. And then they went to the course, and they ended up loving it so much that they began teaching it.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that was really good. There's also another good book on parenting, if we're talking about parenting. It's called Scream-Free Parenting. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book, but it's a really great book, and the author kind of goes into this idea of when you're yelling at your kids or screaming, you're essentially giving them the remote to your emotions, and then they are able to just click that button and get you to react when they want. And so it's really taking that remote back, and then it kind of uses some of those Love and Logic principles in there too. But Scream-Free Parenting is a great book. So
I love that. I think books, you were talking about how can you learn more self-awareness. You read books, you practice what you're doing. There's a book called Awareness that I highly recommend. It's one of my cornerstone books. It's by a gentleman named Anthony DeMello. He passed away in 1985, and but they took his lectures and turned them into a book. But what I love on Audible, they've got the actual lectures in the book Awareness. So you combine different things like parenting and love and logic, awareness, learning things like Crucial Conversations or my book, things like that, putting all of those things to work and to play, and actually playing and applying those things. You're going to create a deeper self-awareness, and you're practicing skills you'll need the rest of your life.
Yeah. What do you think, talking about kind of these relationships and stuff, when you say a relationship is truly impossible versus when it's salvageable, like how does someone tell when a relationship's impossible or whether it's salvageable or not? Like,
yeah, well, I think I called it impossible is because it has four aspects. And the first one, it's a untrue, it's not true, and it's a self-limiting belief that it's impossible. I believe as human beings, we can do the impossible. So it's a limiting belief. That's the first. The second reason, and the reason we think it's impossible, is because we have a bad past experience with that person. We know how it is. The third thing that's involved with it is you had explosive emotions on both sides. Even if you shut down, that's an explosive emotion. And then the fourth thing is that neither party had the skill sets to have the conversation. It's really different if you have a skill set to do something. But these are skills that most people don't know or haven't practiced. But I tell people it's like, okay, if you've got an axe and you want to cut down 50 to 100 trees in a day, that's almost impossible. But you put a chainsaw in the person's hand, it becomes possible. It's a different tool. But most people, even when they learn something, they've written it off in their brain and they go, I'm not going to try that again, because we avoid pain. But we don't understand what I call emotional accounting. We put that off. We don't know what it's costing us. I tell people to invest in your breakthroughs. You can't have a breakthrough until there's conflict. Think about that for a second. So if you're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding your breakthrough.
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the best things that ever happened to me, I had a strained relationship with my dad. I left home when I was 16, and I didn't talk to him for like 6 years. And when I was about 21, 22, I had this sense of like, I should connect with him. I hadn't talked to him for a while. And so I reached out to him and we got to sit down. And I think one of the best things that for me was to sit down, and I felt like a man at that point, and I could just kind of confront him like, hey, you did this, it hurt my feelings, or like, why did you do this? And he was able to give me an answer of like, well, I'm sorry, I was a single parent, or, I was wrong, please forgive me. And we were able to kind of go through all these milestone moments in my brain that I had, to kind of confront him on it. And we got closure in that. And I think that really helped me. Like, one is develop and move on. And then also start to rebuild a relationship with him. And, now, him and I are really close, and he has his flaws and his faults and all these things, but I can still kind of love him and look past those things. But I think it was that, and I don't even know why I had the guts to even sit down and be like, hey, like, I want to confront you on all these things, but I did. And I think that was really helpful for me.
Oh, I agree. I think it's the most loving thing you can do for yourself, and one of the healthiest, because in that you discovered things you never discovered because you were in your head about what was going on. You thought you knew, but you were looking at it from only one lens. Now, your lens wasn't wrong, it was just incomplete. And that's what happens when you sit down. You get to complete the view and possibly more views around rather than just the two of you. But I love that, because that's one of the reasons in my first chapter of my book, I talk about going back and having a conversation with my father. And when you complete something, no matter what goes on, you've done your best. There's something powerful about that. That weight goes off your shoulder. And Mark, I'm so glad you got to do that, because I share my story about my father, and some people come up to me and say, I never got the chance to do that. And before they passed away. And that's why I'm so passionate about cleaning these things up, because we've all got an expiration date, whether we want to think about it, talk about it, or not. And what's going to happen if I don't get to say what I really need to say and show just my perspective to the other person, and try to do it from a place of compassion and forgiveness and love, because that's the most powerful thing that we have, but we tend not to show that to people when we're scared and we're fearful. And the two things can't hold the same space. You're either accepting one or the other. And so as you go in, I love that you and love gives you courage. I truly believe at the heart of it, you wanted what every boy wants, a relationship with their father, but you had to go through something to get there. It wasn't just going to happen. And I also believe that when we have the courage to do that, it's honored. And it may not look the same way we thought it would, but most of the time I find it's actually better than it was.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to shift the conversation a little bit. You know, we have a lot of freelancers and small business owners and agency owners who listen to this podcast. And one of the things that a lot of people dread are a performance review. And so I want to kind of talk about, you know, what's one tip that they can use to keep those conversations constructive? Because I feel like a lot of times you go into a performance review and you have the boss who's got his list of things, and then the employee who's like going to be defensive about how the boss approaches these room for improvement. So what are some tips or guides you can give around giving a really good performance review?
Well, I haven't been asked that in a long time, but I actually have a training program called Effective Performance Reviews.
Okay.
And another one called Effective Feedback. And one of the things I believe performance reviews should be inspirational. They shouldn't be, even if we have a tough message, great. We're going to actually clean the deck right now in a way where we're going to have a stronger relationship going forward. That's a different lens than most people. And when you understand, you've got to show the behavior. So one of the things I typically used to call them, they're not really performance reviews, they're lying session. We're going to sit here and lie to each other because I'm going to say, I need this. I'm going to play the odds. I'm going to say, let's talk about what's really going on. So one of the things on effective performance feedbacks, give your best intent up front. My goal in this performance review is to make a strong working relationship better, or to take where I think we are and make it better, whatever that may be, and to hopefully get us moving in the right direction. Then you give specifics about if someone rates them, if you're doing this, someone's rated themselves up here and you really rate them down here, you want to give them specific behaviors. We say, you need to be a better critical thinker. What does that mean? I can't work on critical thinking like that. Right. I need a direction. You're not pulling your weight. What do you mean by that? Here's your numbers. This is the number we believe you should be at, and this is the number that you were supposed to hit. This is the number you actually hit. This is how many times I saw you ended up, you didn't volunteer for anything the last 3 months. In meetings, I find that you haven't shared your opinion the last 6 meetings. When I see that kind of behavior, I have questions and concerns. People who are going to be here, here's what I expect from them in meetings, that they speak up, they share what they want to do, they listen to others. You give them specific behaviors, then they know what to do next. So at the end of it, this is why I rate you here. Where do you want to be next year? I want to be here. Let's talk about what's it going to take to get you there. Now, is it an ability issue? We typically don't look at that. Maybe they need some training to get there. Maybe it's not. We typically look at it like it's a motivation issue. Well, and people say, well, they've been trained on this. Well, guess what? People forget. They might not know. And that's an ability issue. Someone forgets how to do something, and how easy it if I'm supposed to, and I don't know what to do. It's an ability issue. And if I never deal with that, I'm always going to have the same problem over and over and over. And we typically think it's one area. Typically, the behavior you get is based on, when I talk crucial influence, 6 different reasons why people do what they do. Personal, motivation and personal ability. Social, meaning other people, how other people motivate us, and other people slow us down or speed us up, ability and motivation. And then structural, what I get paid for, okay, that's a motivator. Or my bonus, that's a structural motivation. An ability would mean I actually don't have my computer broke down, so I couldn't get the report in on time. But what you find is any problem behavior typically isn't in one quadrant, it's across all of them. And if you don't help that employee build the bridge to cover that, you have the same problems over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes total sense, and that's very helpful. So kind of as we're wrapping this up, when we're working on our communication skills, how do you advise people to measure that progress, especially in relationships where the feedback may not be forthcoming?
Yeah. And that's tough because everyone has different managers. Everyone has different situations. I say go back to the basics wherever you are and talk about what respect looks like to each other. So most people don't have a conversation like that. Most even with their wife, because Mark, I'm going to suggest you want me to treat you with respect from how you define it rather than how I define it. Is that correct? Okay, so guess what? I probably should ask you how you define respect.
Right.
And then I share with you how I define it. And then have an agreement, set agreements out about how we'll talk about if we feel disrespected. Because I would suggest your intent is never to treat me disrespectfully, and I feel the same way. We have different, let's talk about that. And then if we ever feel that, what's our agreement about how we'll talk about it? Because if you bury it, what happens is we look at someone and go, oh, I knew they wouldn't change anyway, and we write them off. Well, what would it be like if all of a sudden, hey, we talked about respect, and this was the behavior I said I didn't want, and you did it. What happened? Curious, not judgmental about it. What happened? Well, I'm sorry. Here's the thing. People will fail in all areas because we're people. We're not thinking about the other person. We're thinking about ourselves. And until I speak up, I don't insert myself. If I talk to you about speaking over me in meetings and you speak over me the day after, we typically write them off. But what if after the meeting I go, hey, Mark, I know you're probably thinking about something else and forgot about what we talked about yesterday, but in the meeting you spoke up over me. How would you like me to address this in the future? Because I want to make sure you understand I want to be respectful, but I also want to hold you to what you said. You didn't want to speak over me in meetings. Oh, I didn't know I did that. Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Anything else? No, that's fine. In the afternoon, it happens again. Guess what? Uncomfortable for me, but am I really committed to having a world that I create, promote, or allow? Then I do it again. What happens real quickly, you stop speaking over me because you know I'm going to bring it up. Now, you might do it with other people, but you've learned that I'm going to talk about it with you, and everything in my life I create, promote, or allow. And so if I allow that to go on, I can't blame you. After I see that, I have to own it myself.
Greg, you're like the Mr. Rogers of relationships over here. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Exactly. I can see you changing your cardigan and saying, I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't talk over me when we're having conversations.
Well, that's the easy one. I can do some really ugly ones, but that's the G-rated version for this. But it goes across everything, as you know. I love that you, Mr. Rogers. I love Mr. Rogers.
He's just always so kind and patient, and
I'm not.
He's always got an answer for everything. Well, so as people start taking this personal stock in their lives and figuring out ways that they can grow and look and kind of taking account of all their relationships, what if someone feels overwhelmed by the multiple strained relationships that they have? Let's see, where do they start?
Yeah. Well, I'd say start with the one that's most important to you. First, sit down first with yourself. Take a good look at yourself. That needs to be, you can't help. There's a great book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, and great book. And they talk about above and below the line. It's been in a lot of different books. But above the line behavior is stuff that's positive. Below is negative. you'll never be able to pull other people up above the line until you get there first. Now, above and below the line doesn't mean you never go below the line. You're going to go below the line. The question is, do you notice when you are? So if I notice that I'm there, then I can pull myself up. That allows me to pull others up, but I'll never pull them up I can't push them above the line when I'm below the line.
Right.
I have to get there. So that's the first thing, your relationship with yourself. Hold yourself accountable, and then start with the person closest to you. What I'm going to suggest, Mark, you started with your dad, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And you took on a hard one, but you took on an important one. And I would suggest it probably made you a better father because of it. It made you a better husband because of it. Because you took that on and you had the courage to do it, because that was the one that probably bothered you the most. And it's probably laid a pathway for you to do that again and again and again. And remember this, folks, what one person can do, another can do. One of my favorite scenes in a movie is Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin in The Edge when they're going to kill the bear. Got to kill the bear. He's like, what one man can do, what one person can do, another can do. So I'm going to suggest this. If you saw my life before, I was not a person that could take on an impossible conversation. You can do it. It just requires you to have the desire and go learn what you do and put it into application, because it's your life. You do these things, you'll be a better parent, you'll be a better spouse, you'll be a better leader in your organization. People will, respect comes with this.
Yeah.
It really does, because people start to see that, oh, there's something different about this person. They're going to speak their truth.
Yeah, it's those things too. When you run into someone who's like that, you admire them. You look up to them. You think, man, I want to be more like that. You know, and so yeah, it's like be the person that somebody else looks up to and wants to be like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, hey, where can people learn more about your work and kind of get your book and stuff like that?
Well, a couple things. You can go to my website, alignment-resources.com. And then you can send me or my business partner, Noah, Greg at alignment-resources.com or Noah at alignment-resources.com. Any request. We have different programs, but our big thing, we're teaching master teams to executives. And we're also working now with groups from 21 to 28 years old, new emerging leaders. We're teaching them the skill sets that executives have issues with. Also, I've got a podcast called A Shot of Inspiration. And Mark, I want to invite you today to be on that, because
I'd love to come on. Yeah.
It's inspirational stories about different people I met, and I do a lot of trading with podcasts, but I've also got a lot of others. And then I've got a second podcast I haven't released yet. It's called A Spiritual Piece. And what it is, it's like the piece you feel or a piece of the puzzle. I ask my guests on that 2 questions when we release it. Walk us through your spiritual journey from childhood to today, and what is your spiritual message to the world? So I'd like to invite you to be on both of those.
Yeah, I'd love that. I would really enjoy that. So yeah, you just let me know and I'll come on.
Great. And you can pick up my book, Build New Bridges, The Art of Restoring Impossible Relationships, at Amazon. Also, you can, if you're an Audible person, which I am, you can download it. I didn't do the Audible. I hired a professional person, not me.
A velvety voice to do it for you.
Yeah. I love it. It was interesting when I first heard it. I was like, wow, I love this book now. I got to the point where I didn't like my book. I got tired of it. But then I heard someone else read it. I was like, I like this again.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's been great. Thanks so much. I feel like we got some nuggets of gold from you today. So I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with me and our audience. So,
Mark, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and hey, and thank you for listening to The Friday Habit. You can go to thefridayhabit.com to find show notes for this episode. There you can also find links to our websites and ways to get in touch. And at the bottom of the page, you can download our guide to the Friday Habit system. That's going to help you set aside one day each week to dedicate fully on your business. So you're working on your business instead of always in your business. You can hit us up at hello@thefridayhabit.com. And until next time, live every day like it's Friday.